The problem is, and I saw it again yesterday, Americans are offering. Like the Victor Bout dude is really bad.
This guy is not one that you want to let go.
Really bad, and it's like,
in fact,
they're offering.
he only has like another 14 years on his sentence, and you're thinking that's not enough, right? This guy went out of his way to find the most heinous people that hated Americans more than the life itself, and were willing to do anything. They were willing to wear this stuff and just roll into whatever building they could to blow up as many Americans as possible. This was the kind of guys that this Victor Bout or Boot was seeking out. All right, you couldn't have a more heinous criminal. It sounds. I don't mean to make light of this, but it is true that trading Brittany Griner as a political prisoner for Victor Boot is worse, more lopsided than Joe Barry Carroll for the cheat and the rights to Kevin McHale. Who's making this deal? Red Auerbach? For the Russians? My God.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo.
On a beautiful Monday morning here in South Florida, where we originate from on the Defo Show, Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz, very happy to have you with us. As looks like Lubie is set up in a new location here. Looks like you've got your own Kiner's Corner. The only thing missing is the old wood paneling that used to be very, very popular in decorating homes on Long Island back in the day. How you doing, Mike Lubie Lubitz? Big weekend, and it was just a wide, diverse weekend of sporting activity, and now we have a full slate of NFL preseason games on tap, so that's going to draw a lot of attention during the course of the week, and there'll be a lot of overreaction, and I don't know, is there ever underreaction to the preseason? Like you're watching a guy, he's playing like shit. I guess that happens, right? Where you have a quarterback, all of a sudden he looks like he's a shot fighter, and everybody's like, hey, well, it's preseason. They don't care. And then he goes out there and just lays an egg for the first half of the season. Finally gets cut, ends up playing in Saskatchewan. So I guess you can underreact to things that happen in the preseason. But for the most part, it's just a blatant overreaction. And we can't wait to start doing that and corresponding our thoughts to you people out there that view and listen to the show. Loyal, faithful people that have followed us along the way, many different stops along the radio dial and various television appearances, and now this internet streaming thing. We can't wait to just fuel you with bad information about what's going on in the preseason. Although once in a while you can see some things, Lubie, although you tend to already formulate a very hardline opinion about people, and you won't let it go even when it's already, blatantly proven to be wrong, as is the case with the Justin Herbert Tua Tagovailoa argument, which, let's face it, Herbert's a better quarterback than Tua Tagovailoa. There's no question about it after a couple of years in the league. This guy's a better quarterback, whether he's with a better team, whether they've surrounded Tua with the right weapons, and he's in a system now with this esoteric, existential, philosophical Nietzsche of a coach that we have in Mike McDaniel. It's possible that he blossoms, has a better season and more productive than Justin Herbert in terms of wins and losses. That's possible. Although there are people that believe that the Los Angeles Chargers, just about said San Diego there, the Los Angeles Chargers are a viable Super Bowl contender and worth a few shekels at a very lofty price. I don't know. They have to be in excess of 20-1, right?
I know people have enough there. Look, they already had a good defense when Derwin James and Bosa are held. They added J.C. Jackson, one of the top 5 to 10 corners, and they added Khalil Mack. So their defense is already going to be better. And then on top of that, you have Herbert. They added to the line. Slater's one of the better offensive linemen in football that they drafted, which is what I want the Dolphins to do. So they have one of the better teams in football. So they're right there. It's like the Chiefs, the Bills, or Bills, Chiefs, and then Chargers. Like people have the Chargers like right there with those teams.
All right, we need somebody on the chat line to let me know if you're also getting that same snap, crackle, and pop effect from Lubie during the conversation. So Julian or any of the people that are already on the chat line there, fire it up because it doesn't sound too smooth to me, but if it's coming out okay, then I'm okay with it. I can live with it. You had a clip there about the Victor Boot transaction for Brittany Griner, which it's kind of interesting because this Whalen guy who was a former Marine and, for all of the right reasons, should be somebody that would have been a focus of the attention of the American government, as a guy who, if he was spying for the American government in Russia, then all the more reason to get him the hell out of there. And if he wasn't, then wow, then what on earth, was America thinking, and all of these diplomats that are involved in this whole Brittany Griner thing, which nothing wrong. I mean, she obviously, look, it's Midnight Express. I mean, we're talking about Brad Davis in the movie playing William Hayes. Life for what? And you're saying to yourself, wow, I mean, that's a tragedy to get 9 years in prison for something so ridiculously simple. As we were saying the other day, there was a chance that I have more hemp and THC content in the floor mats of my Tiguan than she had in her suitcase. So 9 years, an atrocity. Now, the other side of the argument is, and this has come out quite frequently on social media, I'm not sure that it's an equal divide. I think almost anybody would agree that, to get a 9-year sentence like that is just absolutely atrocious, and as radically unfair. I mean, think about it. I'm sitting on the beach yesterday thinking, how wonderful is this for a couple of hours, right? Fortunately, I'm in a situation where I can walk across the street and get to the beach and, sit there at my leisure, and it doesn't have to be a full day commitment or anything. I don't have to schlep a lot of stuff. And you're thinking, wow, I mean, these 2 hours were as enjoyable as anything I've ever had. I mean, picture yourself in a Russian prison colony. And now I'm smoking a joint on the beach, which was issued by the American government and purchased legally here. And I don't know what the rules are about outside. I guess if the cops happen to roll by, what would they tell you? To put it out? Not sure. Yeah. You're smoking a joint on the beach today that I acquired through, legal medical marijuana means. Nobody's going to make a big deal about that. They don't even care anymore. I think if you were smoking a joint in your car, there's a pretty good chance the guy would just say, hey listen, why don't you put that out and focus on driving?
Honestly.
So the offense, I mean, look, does the punishment meet the crime? No, with Brittany Griner. But it's insane, really, because of her popularity and her presence. I mean, she doesn't deserve to be there. Many people feel, though, hey, you know what? You were kneeling for the flag. You hated America. You didn't want anything to do with it. You thought this was such a bad country. You couldn't wait to say enough negative things about it. Now, the beauty of America is you're entitled to go ahead and do that and still be an American, as long as you're not hurting anybody. I don't know. Was Brittany Griner hurting anybody? She was hurting the feelings of veterans, of law enforcement people. I don't know. I mean, you can make a case, and this letter has been circulating on social media from a Vietnam veteran. It's originally supposedly written by a Vietnam veteran saying, "Hey, I did all this and that, and the fact that you were denouncing America really offends me. And guess what? Now you want to be an American." So there's some of that sentiment involved. But all that being said, I mean, it's ridiculous for somebody to be sentenced to 9 years in prison for the offense that she committed in Russia. And fortunately, I mean, this Whalen guy has been rotting away in a Russian prison for 3.5 years. I guess he's going to be the player to be named later in that deal. But now the Russians, they want another player to be named later. First, it was some murdering cretin that was locked up in Germany, which I don't know. How do you work that out now? You're going to involve the Tampa Bay Rays in the deal to get the Yankees who they need from the Mariners? What is this? It's insane. And of course, the Russians are openly admitting that, listen, we whacked this woman with 9 years in prison for a ridiculous offense, which probably, she's playing basketball there. She obviously had some kind of a presence and name in the country, probably in a very popular light. And no protest from the Russian people because they wouldn't dare say anything. It's just a horrible situation. But the trade, I mean, is very lopsided. I would say, as facetious as that comment was about Joe Barry Carroll for Kevin McHale and the Chief, it's right up there. If you send them this Merchant of Death guy. And then whoever else they want, what other heinous, impossible criminal they want back in exchange for two people that were, one, she did have the drugs in her bag. Is she innocent? Not completely, but is this really any kind of justification for a 9-year prison sentence? No. If anything, you would have thought that she already had done more than enough time just leading up to her trial there and the ultimate conviction, which everybody, knows that in the Russian courts, whatever the prosecutors want, they're going to get. I guess they were whining that it should have been 10 years. which is insane. But no, fortunately, something good may come of that also, and that this Whalen guy finally gets out, and there was some attention brought to his predicament that he was in there, just thrown in jail arbitrarily, and then convicted of espionage, sentenced to 16 years, and kind of like throw away the key and forgotten about. Unbelievable. Andy, who's sprung from the hospital, speaking of getting out of jail, says the Russians want Fritz Peterson's wife also in this deal. Is she still alive? I don't even know. Anyway, that's going to play itself through, I guess, and hopefully end up in a somewhat favorable result in that while we release this, just absolute mass murdering piece of shit back to the Russians after 10 years, 11 years of a 25-year sentence. I can't imagine that, he simmered any about his beliefs about Americans. Victor Boot, what do you think? Is there any way that he kind of mellowed out and just said, you know what, I really deserve these 10 years in prison under horrendous conditions, probably the tightest of security in some federal lockup somewhere where you never see the light of day? I mean, El Chapo's probably got more yard time than Victor Boot. I can't imagine that kind of tempered his feelings about Americans, and he now wants to do nothing but good.
There's a reason the Russians want him. Like, I think he still has all of his networks open. Like, the minute they release him, he's going to go right back to work, like 100%.
I'm getting you in the worst garbled.
That's annoying because I've changed my mic. Like, this mic shouldn't do that. Is anyone else getting it? I don't mind you guys commenting because I've
please let us know.
Changed my mic.
Coming through. Okay.
The levels are low.
Really, to me, it sounds like garbage, but it's okay. A lot of people say that you shouldn't be on the show. No, nobody says that anymore. That was a program director many years ago. All right, a wild weekend of sporting activity. A lot of different things happening over the weekend, and wow, it was a tale of two cities, huh? New York City, where the Yankees are in the throes of just an abysmal slump here. They've lost 5 in a row. They were beaten yesterday by the Cardinals 12-9. They were also beaten in that series and swept for the first time, I think, what'd they say, since 2007? Does it go back that far? First time they were swept by a National League team in a 3-game series in a long, long time. They have been swept the least in 3-game series of any team since the advent of interleague play. The New York Yankees get swept by the Cardinals as part of this 5-game skid. They have lost some ridiculous proportion of games over the last 30. I believe they're several games under 500, like 3-4 games under 500. This was from a team that was playing .750 baseball all year long. Everybody was applauding all of the moves that Brian Cashman made around the trade deadline, except for one, Lubie. And it came back to haunt him, right? He traded this pitcher, Montgomery, a starting pitcher, to the Cardinals, who came back and beat the Yankees over the weekend. So that's always kind of an interesting paradox when you have a guy that you traded and he comes back the very next time that you see him, and it comes soon after the trade deadline in this case, and he beats you in what appeared to be key ball game in that you now have the Yankees still well out in front in the American League East. But that lead is down to 9 and a hook, Lubie. What do you think? 9 and a hook. Can Toronto catch him? Don't know about that. Garrett Cole all of a sudden doesn't look anything like an ace. It looks more, I don't even know if he looks like a jack or a 10. I mean, he's starting to look like a 6, Garrett Cole, for all of that money. And you need him to come around if you're a Yankee fan. And one of the big questions was whether the rotation would hold up, and all of a sudden it's kind of collapsing right in front of them. So the New York Yankees going deep south, my friend. Deep south so far. I don't know if it's enough to derail them from I can't imagine they don't make the postseason with the year that they're having.
Yeah.
But stranger things have happened, right? Chicago Cubs way back in the day. Philadelphia Phillies, what was that, 64, when Gene Mauch was throwing the spare ribs around the locker room there. He hit Richie Allen in the eye with some barbecue sauce. That wasn't a good move, Gino. And they fell apart and lost a huge lead, like a 10-game lead with 11 to play, something in that neighborhood. I don't know if that's going to happen to the New York Yankees or anybody's going to catch them, but they certainly need to turn things around. Meanwhile, the Mets, I talked to Mr. Met yesterday while I was on the beach, Ira Dornstein, and he was upset because he was set up perfectly in front of his television set, ready to watch the Metsies take on the Braves in the final game of the series. There was a rain delay. So he was a little bit verklempt about the idea that he was going to have to wait like another 45 minutes for the game to start. Very confident, though, Lubie. And I guess he should have been with Jacob Degrom, who came back, his second start back off of this rehab assignment where you know what was going to become of Jacob Degrom this year. Was he going to be okay? Was he going to throw one pitch? like Max Meyer did, right, for the Marlins. And the next thing you know, he's needing Tommy John or back out on the injured list once again. Looked real good in his first start, and then pitches a perfect game for 5 innings plus yesterday for the Mets against the Braves. Say something, Libby, just so I know that you're not
I'm here. I don't know what else to do.
No, you do sound like, at least on my system.
They're saying I sound not good. I don't know. I mean, it's the same equipment.
Yeah, no.
For every remote, so I don't understand why it in my house.
Oh, okay, so that's been verified here. Yeah.
Yeah, they're saying it sucks. Yeah, I don't know what to do. Nothing else. I've already changed the microphone. I don't know what to do, to be really honest. So we'll change locations, I guess.
This Kiner's Corner
later on.
Just got you in. I don't know what you did there, here, Libby. No. Do you operate out of the same house, or is this a different location altogether?
No, the internet is really bad up here, and I think that's what's happening. So I'm going to move downstairs.
All right. Well, we'll get to a break here eventually. In the meantime, I'll keep babbling, and you keep talking in static. It's great. Anyway, the Mets and Iris says to me, "Oh well, you know what? We're going to win today with Degrom, and we're going to be up 6.5 on the Braves." And I thought, wow, isn't that the unfortunate psychology of all Met fans? Just when you buy in, here it is late in the season, and you're thinking, okay, you got to believe. And sure enough, that's usually when things start to unravel and bad things start to happen. But Degrom, he goes, and this was great too, Lubie. He goes 5 2/3 in the game yesterday. He strikes out 12 during that span. He had a perfect game going until he walked a guy, I think, with 2 away in the 6th inning. I'm pretty sure it was 5 2/3 or something like that. I know he was into the 6th inning with a perfect game going. I believe he got the first couple of guys out. He had 12 strikeouts at that point. He finally walks a guy and loses the perfecto, and the next guy up hits a home run. Now, the Mets were still leading in the ballgame. I believe they were up. I think they were up 4-0 at the time when these 2 runs scored for the Braves in the game. Degrom gets lifted because he had reached a pitch limit. I think he had thrown like 75 pitches or something, 70 of which were probably strikes. And he gets into the dugout, and he's excessively, just overwhelmingly frustrated. And this is a guy who just struck out 12 in 5 2/3 in his second start back off a year layoff. And he fires his glove onto the bench there in frustration there after giving up this home run, where the Mets now had given up a couple of runs after it looked like, he wasn't going to be able to go to distance, I would imagine, because of pitch count. I can't imagine they were going to send him out there and let him throw 100 pitches in this ball game. But nonetheless, looked brilliant. So the Mets on the ascent. They have won 15, I think, of 21, something along those lines, or 16 of 21. They're really on a good streak. And the Yankees all of a sudden are in the crapper. And they now have flipped positions on the back page of the New York Post. It's the Mets getting all the attention, which is kind of weird. And the Yankees having an incredible year until just recently, all of a sudden have become yesterday's news. And people are looking at some of these deals. It shows you what paralysis by analysis can do also, because all of the people that were looking at what the Mets did at the trade deadline were saying, oh, my God, how could they sit chilly like that? They didn't do anything. The only move that's going to help them is Degrom possibly coming back, and we don't know how that's going to work out. And everybody was just salivating over Brian Cashman and his brilliance. And so far, the guys the Mets got, this guy Vogelbach has become a very popular figure. He weighs about 350 pounds, a big left-handed hitter that they got from the Pirates. He was hitting .230 with the Pirates, and he supposedly is just an excellent hitter with a great eye at the plate. Since he's come to the Mets, he's been a real folk hero, including chugging around the bases. I believe it was did he score from second on a double? It seemed like it took him forever to get around a bit, but he was running as hard as he could. It looked like he was going to collapse. And he's become a real popular folk hero, the kind of guy that sparks a team to go on and have a real good result at the end of the season. So we'll see with Scherzer and Degrom, certainly in short series, best of 7 series, the New York Mets are going to be a huge factor. And they also have that guy Walker pitching well. So, there might be some possibilities. I'm hoping. I was in his 80s. I was a Met fan. I didn't mean to put it in these terms, but I said I'm just hoping they win a championship before you go to that big casino in the sky. And it looks like there's at least a possibility of that. So interesting in baseball. The Marlins, of course, They finally won a game. They never score any runs. It's just horrible to watch. It's the most boring baseball you'll ever see. They sit there now at 49-59 on the season, and we are out of it. We're ready to watch Tua Tagovailoa and see if he can do it with this whole new system that he's going to have with Mike McDaniel, and this new cachet of players that he's got to work with there, including Hill, who so far has done everything to make you believe that this team is on the ascent. So we'll find out. I was just reading some handicapping, too, about the New England Patriots. They won 10 games last year, Lubie, made the playoffs, New England Patriots, even though you hate Mac Jones. So not too shabby. And I'm thinking Mac Jones gets even better this year. You're thinking that it was – and who was talking about that with us? Was it Jason Cole saying that it was the Patriots' defense that kind of fell apart last year? It wasn't Mac Jones that tailed off.
Aaron Schatz. It was
Aaron Schatz. Yeah. He was talking about that, and he's got the numbers to kind of quantify that with his Football Outsiders, which is often referenced by a lot of people that are doing handicapping. So his outfit became somewhat important, even though the numbers that he was giving out were supposed to be the antithesis of what everybody else was looking at. And maybe that's where you needed to look, because obviously these guys that use all kinds of sabermetrics and numerology when making their selections in the draft have to be just flat out of their mind, right? They may as well just drop some acid with Aaron Rodgers and start making selections, the way some of these things work out. So anyway, the handicapper Action Sports was saying the Patriots are due to slide backwards, even though Mac Jones may make an ascent. How about that, Louie? Patriots go backwards, win less than 8 games this year, even though Mac Jones has like a good season and eclipses the total that they've posted for him of 23 and a hook on touchdown passes for the season. Does Mac Jones throw for 24 touchdowns this season? Are you willing to lay 115 to win 100, Louie, on that proposition? It's a good question.
I can see that.
All right. Hall of Fame ceremonies, always touching, and they always kind of trigger the magic question, why isn't Zach Thomas in the Hall of Fame? Now, maybe that's a sentiment that we only feel here. I don't think it's unique to South Florida. I believe there is a lot of national and international sentiment that somehow Zach Thomas belongs in the Hall of Fame ahead of some of the guys that are in there, and maybe even Sam Mills. I don't know. Sam Mills was a good player. I forgot. Jim Mora was the coach of the Saints when Sam Mills was playing. Jim Mora. There's a lot of Jim Mora clips over the weekend. That's always interesting because you can only envision him going, playoffs? You're talking about playoffs? We just want to win a stinking game. He morphed into Susan Wallman for that particular clip. Playoffs? It's one of the great ones. It's right up there with the Allen Iverson practice speech. Playoffs? How many times have you seen that? By the way, we saw a lot of Jim Mora, young Jim Mora, in his clips. And I lost a prop bet. I mean, I thought this was the biggest cinch in the history of wagering. How could you possibly lose this bet, Lubie? And he gave us 23 minutes when they're only supposed to go for like 5. Dick Vermeil didn't cry during his Hall of Fame induction speech.
That's crazy.
How is that? That's like Tammy Faye Baker not crying during the course of a 2-hour sermon delivered by Jimbo. Well, he was delivering the last several from behind bars, but nonetheless, that didn't hold up Tammy Faye from shedding a few tears in that mascara. My God. It was like Rudy Giuliani on steroids with the hair coloring leaking down his face. But I guess Bryant Young had the most moving speech there, talking about his son who died of cancer. Couldn't help but tear up during that thing. I don't know. How did Vermeil hold back during that? Couldn't have. But that wasn't the bet. The bet was with Dick Vermeil at what point, and I had under 2 minutes, that Dick Vermeil would start sobbing during the course of his Hall of Fame induction speech. And he never did. Wow. I mean, it seemed he must have had some kind of. You think he went to like a psychiatrist or something, and or some, practiced this thing, and they told him, "Hey, listen, you don't have to cry, Dick. You don't have to cry." I'm screaming from the other side of the television set here. Cry already! It's kind of like watching $1 Million Baby when we were waiting, for Hilary Swank to die during the movie. Die already! Die already! I want to get out of here. Please let me go. Anyway, I was just looking at the prospectus for 2023 Hall of Fame class, and he is now among the top 20 players, according to this list on CBS Sportsline, not in the Hall of Fame that deserve to be there. Top 20 players that deserve to be in the Hall of Fame that are not in it. Zach Thomas is up there. Some people feel that maybe next year will be his year. I don't know, Libby. It seems like an injustice that needs to be rectified before it goes to like the senior committee in about 30 years, and we're not around to see it. But Zach Thomas certainly deserving. Nick Kyrgios has become a fan favorite ever since that meltdown that he had of decorum while he was playing at Wimbledon against Tsitsipas. And since that time, he's never been more popular. Nick Kyrgios. He's playing lights out tennis and would be a threat, I guess, to win the U.S. Open. I don't think you're going to get the same price you did on him to win Wimbledon, which he didn't. He ran into, he got to the final there and played the Joker, and then that was it. But I don't think Joker's going to be in the U.S. Open because of the vaccination thing. So, I mean, does that leave the door wide open? I don't know if there's a guy playing better tennis out there right now than Nick Kyrgios, who the fans love him now, Lubie, and they're disappointed if he doesn't have a breakdown.
That's weird.
He was pretty much on his best behavior. He played this guy, Francis Tiafoe, who's an American who has a great story also. Came from very humble beginnings. His dad was like a groundskeeper at some country club, and Tiafoe picked up tennis, a black tennis player, and not exactly, you don't see the tennis world inundated with black American tennis players. But Tiafoe's been very good for a long period of time, and he had a bloodbath in this prelim for the U.S. Open in Washington, D.C., and wow, I mean, a 14-12 second set tiebreaker after Tiafoe had won the first set. And then Kyrgios came back and won that match. And then he mowed down the rest of the guys in the tournament, but pretty much on his best behavior. He and Tiafoe are good friends. They actually were having a great time. That was a very entertaining match to watch from a lot of different aspects, including they kind of enjoyed each other. Every time they were making remarkable shots, they would do a couple of antics and gestures, which was very, very appeasing to the crowd there. But I don't know. He might be playing the best tennis in men's tennis right now. Kyrgios, impossible to break on the hard courts because he's got just a great, great serve. And if he doesn't beat himself, very, very tough. So he went over the weekend, and there were a lot of different tennis tournaments going on around the world. I was following a few of them. Medvedev looks like he's back on form. World's number one, the Russian who was not allowed to play at Wimbledon, got off to a little bit of a rocky start. Some of the tournaments leading up to Wimbledon and the French. And certainly would be a viable contender to win the U.S. Open, which gets, underway the end of this month. Are we going, Lubie? We should go, Mr. Static.
That's you. I'm good.
All right, we gotta figure out what to do about your situation.
I'm gonna move. I'm gonna go downstairs whenever we take a break.
All right, we're gonna take a break here in a second. Sue Bird, final regular season game in Seattle, 20-year career.
Wow,
very likable female athlete. No. Or athlete, period, but very, very likable and kind of the face of the WNBA or one of a few faces of the WNBA. The big question, Lubie, is will the Liberty make the postseason in the WNBA? They're a half game out of a playoff spot right now. What do you think? New York Liberty, did they make it?
Sure.
We'll have to ask, consult our man Jim Sarney on that. The bluster about Durant and Donovan Mitchell certainly has quieted down, has it not? Like nothing being said on that front, 0.0. So I don't know. What do you think? Does anything transpire there? Seems to me, I mean, is there going to be some hustle of activity on these two fronts before the season starts? Can they even make a deal before the season? I guess they can, but we'll see what happens. The old trade deadline come and gone in the NBA. And I don't know. I mean, during the offseason, I guess they can do whatever they want, right? Is it possible? Or are there any parameters, guidelines, tampering? Stephen Ross, I guess. Stephen Ross, actually, it's surprising that he hasn't already been hired by ESPN as their tampering expert. Anytime there is a tampering issue, they just go to Stephen Ross. Hey, is this tampering, Steve? Where you invite a guy onto your yacht and you offer him a contract while he's under contract to another team in front of your head coach who hates you because you told him to lose every game? He's an owner who wants to win, and he wants to win desperately. That's all the fans care about. All right, we're going to come back with more. We're going to try and straighten out Lubie. We're going to smack him in the face here and see if we can get him to stop talking in static. That's a real good trick that you worked on there, Lubie, where you speak in static now. Help the fans.
On purpose.
Sue Bird is Jewish? Get out of here, Randy. He thinks that she's a member of the tribe. Sue Bird is Jewish?
No idea.
Could be. I don't know. Doesn't look it, but,
Heard that.
I wouldn't have thought so. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment. We're going to try and straighten out Lubie. He's going to change locations. This didn't work out too well. The wife's out of town, so he figured he'd pull a fast one. And, of course, it fucked up the show. Later on, too, we'll spin on out to Dolphins training camp. David Furones of the South Florida Sun-Sentinel going to join us here. And he started covering the Dolphins a couple of years ago. He was on the University of Miami beat, so he has some strong ties there as well. And I don't know that we've had that feeling here since 1969, Lubie, where both the Dolphins and the Hurricane season were being looked upon with great enthusiasm and anticipation of good things to come. It's been a long time since both of those teams were on a path where you actually could be a believer. Going to come back with more in a moment here on the Defo Show. Hialeah Park, a great place to go. It's always cranking. I mean, Saratoga betting at Hialeah Park. We've been talking about how wonderful it is, the fusion of the beauty and inherent intrinsic beauty of Hialeah Park, which probably, I don't know, does Saratoga's beauty approximate Hialeah's, or is it Hialeah's beauty approximate Saratoga? I guess since they're not racing anymore, you'd have to say it's, Hialeah, I mean, gives you the feeling that you're at Saratoga. It's fantastic. You walk in there, you feel great. You can punch away. Very efficient simulcasting room there, champion simulcasting room. I did some punching on Friday. I was joined out there at the local casino here, the Island Casino, by the Grambling Gourmet, Mike Mayo.
Nice.
Yeah. He had a good day. I had a good day, and everybody was having a lot of fun. It was special hello to our friend Craig. Always very nice out there. Omar was on fire. It was just a good time had by all. But, wow, I mean, the only thing that could have made it better was if Hialeah Park was in that kind of close proximity. So, we could just jog down the block there. If you're in the area, it's actually worth the schlep. I mean, if you're thinking about spending a day in a beautiful place and you wanted to punch away on the horses, it'd be worth the trip down to Hialeah Park. And, wow, once you experience it again, if you haven't been there for a while, you are absolutely going to love it. You're going to say, you know what, Deef? You turn me on to a beauty here. This is absolutely fantastic. Get a player's card. If you're going to be in a casino, get a player's card. It gives you all kinds of rewards and entitlements that you wouldn't get in any other program of its sort. Really are very, very generous. It's just absolutely fantastic. So get yourself a player's card when you get to Hialeah Park, and they will match if you're like a VIP somewhere, like the Mustangs, a big kahuna. They just called her the other day, Libby. You'll love this from the Caesars Rewards program. Airfare and hotel rooms in New Orleans now. We'll fly you there. We don't care. Well, whatever it takes to get you there. And they kind of treat their customers like that at Hialeah Park, too. I mean, it's a local casino that just does a brilliant job, and probably the best of any of the facilities of its type here, certainly in South Florida. Certainly, you could probably say the same thing about anywhere in the state. They just treat you great at Hialeah Park. Great food and drink. Poker room is professionally run by real experts, and they make sure that you have a good time there. Always special events. Great place to plan a party. Check out the website, hialeahpark.com. Always something happening at beautiful Hialeah Park. All right, we're going to come back with more, maybe even come back with Lubie. I'm Jeff DeForest. He's Mike Lubie Lubitz. He's put himself in a predicament, as they say. I think, what is a predicament in wrestling? 3 points? You get a guy in a predicament where it's like, or is a near fall. I don't remember the scoring system. It's like a modified Stableford scoring system in high school and college wrestling. High school wrestling was huge where I went to high school, as Belmore, Long Island, for some reason, had Mepham High School, which eventually came under scrutiny, the usual stuff, unfortunately, sad to say, where the coach and sexual assault and that sort of stuff. But, man, they had a brilliant wrestling program and some real good wrestling coaches there. And it was great. But I can't remember. So we used to go to the matches all the time because it was a big thing. Was the predicament, when you had a guy in a predicament, which was, I guess, like an unfavorable position for a long period of time or any kind of period where it was close to a pin. What was that worth? Was it 2 points or 3 points? You tell me.
No idea. 0. I have no idea.
I think was 3. You should know. I mean, you watch a lot of Olympic wrestling, no?
Never.
I used to actually know this stuff.
Never at all.
All right, we'll see if we can get rid of Mr. Static. And, well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we could get rid of you, but wouldn't help since you're running the show. I'm Jeff DeForest, and good to be with you here on the Defo Show. Later on, we'll talk to David Furones, and, of course, another big week on tap here. And we'll get into these NFL preseason games and what relative meaning they may or may not have. But what if Tua throws a pick on his first he won't see any action in this game, will he? Coming up on Saturday? Because the thing that was always said, and I did a lot of this kind of coverage where Tampa Bay would come to town and scrimmage with the Dolphins for like 3 days, and then they play the preseason game. And it was great because Chip Namias, at the time that I was doing a bunch of shows, and Don Shula liked to scrimmage against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Tony Dungy was their coach. And, you had great access to these people. Dungy would sit down for like an hour and just shoot the breeze with you on one of these shows out there at training camp, as opposed to now where, you wait around for 3 hours after the practice is over and it's 150 degrees and blistering heat. And they say, well, maybe we could tape something for tomorrow. It's like, yeah. Water. But and they always used to say, the cliche was that you got more out of the 3 days or 2 days of combined dual scrimmaging than you did out of the game itself. Do you believe that, Lubie? That they get more out of these practice sessions, these dual practice sessions. And the other common cliche that you hear is, you know what? It's just great to hit somebody in another colored uniform. Which I suppose is true, right? I mean, do you really want to be, beating the crap out of your friends every day? I'm not sure. Your teammates. All right, we'll be back with more in a moment here on the Defo Show. We'll try and set Lubie up in a more favorable situation. I'm Jeff DeForest, and we'll be back on South Florida Live in a moment. Now that
the time.
7:37.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated